Hi there, I'm Brandy Bernhard, the Director of Alumni Relations at Ferris State University, and welcome to this evening's Alumni Social Hour, Bulldog Football, a Homecoming Tradition. We're just a little over a week away from homecoming at Ferris, and nothing says homecoming more than Bulldog football. The team has kicked off the season with two dominant performances, beating the Findlay Oilers and Ashland Eagles. Tonight, we have the opportunity to sit back and listen to two incredible moderators for Bulldog football, Assistant Athletic Director Rob Bentley and News Services Social Media Manager and 2009 alumnus Sandy Golston, as they discuss our defending GLIAC champs and what we can expect as we make a run for the Division II National Championship. This evening's presentation will be roughly about 60 minutes. Anytime during the presentation or at the end, you may click the Ask a Question button near the bottom of your screen or type a question in the comment section if you are watching us live on Facebook. We will work in questions where possible or definitely catch them all at the end of the presentation. And now let's jump right into tonight's discussion with Rob and Sandy.
And thank you very much, Brandy, for the great introduction. Excited to be here. We're about 48 hours away from kickoff from game number 3 here, week 3 of the season, and obviously the second home game here for Ferris State against Saginaw Valley State on Saturday night. A little bit about me. I've been at Ferris State for 21 years. I've been involved with Bulldog football, I think, for the last 15 or 16 years, and large portion of that time on the air in some form, being able to call the action alongside my great partner, Sandy Golston, and I'll turn it over to him here for a quick introduction before we get into really talking about Bulldog football here for the next hour or so.
Well, thanks, Rob. I appreciate it so much. And like you alluded to, it's just great to be back and have Bulldog football back. I mean, what a great thing. And having a year absence from it, it just makes the heart grow fonder for Bulldog football. And as Brandy said, I'm an alumnus of the university, proud alumnus. And when I look back and think of all the years that I was a sports writer covering Bulldog football for the Pioneer locally in Big Rapids, and then having a great opportunity to join with Rob to be able to call Bulldog football games over these years. And it's never more special. When you think of special nights, you think of opening night. And that was a very special night for us against Findlay, and we'll talk about that later. But I also think of homecoming, and homecoming is just one of the great games every year to see so many of the alumni coming back. And it sounds like the hotels in town are filling up, and just a lot of great enthusiasm for Bulldog football looking ahead to homecoming. So it truly is one of the great traditions, marriage of Bulldog football and homecoming.
Obviously, you mentioned homecoming next Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, September 25th against Davenport, 3 o'clock kickoff. But before we get to next weekend, we've got a big night game coming up this Saturday against Saginaw Valley State as the Bulldogs look to move to 3-0 on the year in a couple weeks here, where the Bulldogs are taking on opposing coaches that have been part of the Ferris State staff, and one of the rare opportunities here heading into homecoming where we have back-to-back home games.
Yeah, it really is. And to have a couple of home games early in the year when the weather is still nice and it's night games and people have an opportunity to join us, to travel into Big Rapids, return to Big Rapids, leave home, come over to Top Taggart Field. It really makes for great opportunities. That's one of the reasons why we love these early season night games. It's just great opportunities for us to have big crowds, and the big call that we've had recently in the last few years has been Rock the Top. And so we really want to have a lot of fans, coming out to support. Now you can always bring your earbuds, and you can listen to Rob and I while you're watching the game live at Top Taggart Field. But if you can't be there, you can obviously listen to us. But it's really a great tradition to be in the stadium and to experience Bulldog football up close and personal.
Obviously, homecoming always brings back so many Ferris State alums. We just saw the graphic, though, this weekend, football alumni night, heading into homecoming week. A lot of the former Bulldog football players are going to be on hand, going to be recognized coming up on Saturday night. Jason Vanderlaan, the two-time Harlan Hill Trophy winner, the honorary captain for the game. And going to be nice to have so many of those former players back, and hopefully many of them coming back the following week for homecoming.
Yeah, it's we talked about it a little bit when we did our preview to set the table for Saginaw Valley. It's a great opportunity these next 2 weeks to be able to experience Bulldog football as an alum, and then the overall experience of returning for homecoming Saturday, September 25th against the Davenport Panthers, coached by a Bulldog alumnus themselves. And so it's going to be a couple of great weekends for our fans to get an opportunity to see truly one of the great Bulldog football teams. And we've had some good ones over the years, and we're still early in the season, but you got to love the way the Bulldogs have really come out and started this season, Rob, with 2 powerful wins so far. Still games to go, of course, but the Bulldogs have been very impressive through the first 2 games.
Fans can purchase tickets for either of the next 2 games online, ferrisstatebulldogs.com/tickets. So I want to make sure we throw that out there so you know where to get your tickets. Avoid the lines coming up on game day and get a chance to get in and watch the Bulldogs play. And Sandy, you mentioned it, the first 2 weeks, very exciting for Ferris State, and we'll recap both of those weeks. But overall, your early impressions here on what we've seen from Ferris State here through the first 2 weeks of the season.
Well, one of the things that we talk about in football all the time, and it's kind of cliche to those of us who experience it up close and personal as we do, but it's really won on the line of scrimmage, and our offensive line and defensive line have been just tremendous. The depth that we have on both lines, that's really the nucleus of what it takes to be successful with what you want to do offensively, and particularly in terms of running the football effectively with dominance, which we've done during the first couple of games, but also to be able to provide time for our quarterbacks to be able to step back and really analyze the field and make their reads and hit their targets. And then defensively, being able to put pressure on the quarterback is just so disruptive to what the other team likes to do. So, hats off to, our two line coaches, Sam Parker, Tesfa Smith. They do a great job. The defense and offense in general, everything really click in all 3 phases. Special teams, lest we not forget, has been very impressive here early in the season. So again, it's still early, but boy, you got to like what you've seen from the Bulldogs when you look at it from where they are getting ready for conference play, and looking at it, of course, when you start to see where the Bulldogs fit in on the national stage as well, things looking pretty good early.
Let's go back to week 1 as we have some highlights from the game against Findlay, starting off back on September 2nd. Exciting to be at home on a Thursday night as the Bulldogs took on the Oilers, and always one of those great matchups. Findlay no longer in the GLIAC, but always a traditional rival, and nice to see this series really continue.
Yeah, we've talked about that a couple of times, and the Findlay Oilers, a rivalry with the Bulldogs that goes back a lot of years, generations, and so it's really great to be able to keep this rivalry going. Of course, a former conference rival, and it's really great to see. So was that right there. A great touchdown there by Jared Bernhard. And so it's really been a great opportunity to keep this rivalry alive with Findlay. We'll talk about Ashland as well, very similar situation. So we're definitely excited to maintain those 2 rivalries, not only good relationships between the 2 institutions and 2 football programs, but also 3 really strong football programs traditionally.
Bulldogs got off to a great start. Obviously, a great crowd on hand. Nice to have football back for the first time in 2 years. 6,000 plus fans on hand as we see some of the highlights. And obviously, Jared Bernhard, his debut as a quarterback at Ferris State, former National Lacrosse Player of the Year, and he had an outstanding ball game here in game number 1.
Yeah, you talk about a guy with a terrific debut, and you can't script a better debut than what Jared was able to experience, and coming in as the National Division I Lacrosse Player of the Year, the premier player in lacrosse at the Division I level at Maryland, which is nothing to sneeze at. And for him to come in and to grasp our offense and to be able to get himself in a position to be able to contribute the way he has, becoming the National Player of the Week as a result of this performance against Findlay, really says a lot about what he is as a person and how he's been able to fit into this team and to help us continue that winning tradition that the Bulldogs have been able to establish.
Of course, going into this first game, we weren't sure who the quarterback was going to be. Coach Denise likes to play that one a little close to the vest going into week 1, and certainly he's had to do that here a number of times in recent years. And Bulldogs very capable. 4 quarterbacks they felt could have played in this game, and they ultimately did play 4 quarterbacks here in this first contest.
Yeah, I had a chance at one of the practices, and you mentioned it there. I was talking to Cy Barnett, one of our great wide receivers, and he was saying, we really feel confident that we have 4 quarterbacks who can play, who can throw the ball, who can really control and run this offense. 4 quarterbacks with, somewhat different styles, but definitely all fitting into what Coach Anise and the staff like to do in terms of offense. So Bulldogs really feel like they were coming in with a great quarterback battle, and they really feel like they have 4 starting quarterbacks on their roster.
Obviously, one of those touchdowns we just saw in the end zone, Mason Pline catching the touchdown pass, the big tight end in his first game as a Ferris State football player, of course, was a member of the Ferris State men's basketball team the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, speaking of a newcomer that's really adjusted from one sport to another, how about Mason Pline? You and I had a chance to watch him a little bit during the spring season, and his ability to adapt to play football after playing basketball for Coach Bronkema really says a lot about him as the Bulldogs ring the victory bell after triumphing over the University of Findlay. But Mason Pline also with a tremendous debut and really sky's the limit for his potential as a tight end playing football.
Obviously, right there, 54-14, the final score in week 1. The Bulldogs did what they needed to do in that opening game, got a huge win. And obviously, one of the questions we have regards penalties here through the first 2 weeks of the season. And I know one area that Coach Anise would certainly like to kind of clean up here going into week 3.
Yeah, and we had a chance to discuss that on the air when the Bulldogs were playing Ashland, and really kind of uncharacteristic penalties for our team. Sometimes that can happen, though, going on the road. And again, we did not play last year. We don't want to make excuses necessarily, but certainly from an execution standpoint, not as sharp as what Coach Anise would expect from a team with a lot of veterans. And so I would expect that was addressed pretty aggressively, probably in the locker room, right? If not at halftime. I'm sure after the game, maybe on the bus trip us home as well. And then once the coach had a chance to review the film, I'm sure that's something that was talked about quite a bit during practice. And obviously, as you go through the season, penalties can really hurt you. They can put your defense in difficult positions. They can put your offense in difficult positions as well. And so it's going to be very important to clean that up. And I would expect that that's something that's going to be addressed with a veteran team. I think that's something the Bulldogs will more than likely have cleaned up, and should not be any issues. The magnitude of which what we saw uncharacteristically against Ashland.
Obviously, the Bulldogs here going into week 2 certainly had a big test going on the road to Ashland University this past Saturday night, and we made the trip down there. It was a lot of fun. Big night, obviously, for Ashland, celebrating their 100th year of football. It was the anniversary of 9/11. Of course, our thoughts go out to Eric Bennett, Ferris State football player who was involved in the 9/11 tragedy, and we had a chance to honor him during the broadcast. But just a great night for the Bulldogs. Got off to a tremendous start, and certainly a big win over what's been traditionally a very good opponent.
Absolutely. And a beautiful stadium there, Jack Miller Stadium down there in Ashland, Ohio. Terrific stadium. As you can see right there from the highlights, tremendous crowd on hand. Rob mentioned it, celebrating the 100th year of Ashland football. And the Bulldogs, Rob, really playing their first road game of the season, as we see the incredible run right there, finishing off a terrific touchdown play right there. The Bulldogs really just got off to a great start, Rob, and just never really looked back.
Obviously, in week 1, another question came up as to what areas maybe the Bulldogs are looking to improve on. I thought in week 1 they gave up that early touchdown to Findlay, but they really came back here in week 2 and were dominant on the defensive side. Austin Brenner, a talented quarterback for Ashland, did a nice job of containing him for the most part until the latter stages of the third quarter when Ashland started to move the ball a little bit. Obviously, the Bulldogs played everyone in uniform here in the second half.
Yeah, I think coming into that second game, we knew we were going to have to make some adjustments. You mentioned Austin Brenner, and he is a terrific quarterback. Coach Anise spoke very highly of him. I had a chance to interview Coach Anise on the field after the game, and he was really sung the praises of Austin Brenner, and rightfully so. Ashland's a team really that in addition to a great quarterback, they're a very well-coached team. Coach Lee Owens, we've seen him over the years. We have great respect for him and his Ashland program. They had a really good running back and a solid offensive line. So we knew it was going to be a challenge stepping up from Findlay to Ashland. Ashland is a team, like Findlay, expected to do well in their conference, the GMAC. So we knew we were going to have 2 tough tests to open the season. And you really got to like the way the Bulldogs responded to those 2 tough tests, especially going on the road to beat Ashland, going down there, big night game, long road trip for us, both ways, going down there and getting back at about 4:30 in the morning. It was a long road trip for us, but it's an even better road trip when you come back with a win.
Obviously, the Bulldogs coming back 2-0, ranked second in the nation in both the D2Football.com, the American Football Coaches Association polls, which to the fans certainly mean a great deal. And you hope the Bulldogs get to that number 1 ranking. But to the team, I know those rankings don't mean a whole lot. The record obviously means the most as you get ready and point towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think the first thing you really want to do is focus on each game, and I know it's cliche, and sometimes we know what the coaches are going to say, we know what the players are going to say, but at the same time, it's true. And the first goal really is to win the next game, and then you think about winning the GLIAC championship, because we know if you win the GLIAC championship, that puts you in a position to get to the playoffs. Then once you get in the playoffs, as we showed in 2018, we had to play a number of road games to get to the national championship game, and the Bulldogs were very successful with some huge road wins leading up to the trip to Texas to play for the national championship. So it's one of those things where you really want to stay focused, keep your eyes on the prize, and that's the next game. So that's playing Saginaw Valley. Then you finish that, and then you look ahead to Davenport, and then so on and so forth. But obviously, winning the GLIAC championship is going to be one of those big priorities for the Bulldogs, because that'll set the stage for everything else.
Of course, speaking of the GLIAC, one of the next questions involves the GLIAC and scheduling. And we saw these first 2 weeks, the Bulldogs playing former conference opponents in Findlay and Ashland. Before we get into the scheduling issue, certainly nice to see the Bulldogs be able to schedule those teams for the long term here over the next 3 or 4 years. And with Findlay, it's happened here in recent years. And two opponents that obviously are great teams to match up against and really help fill out the Bulldogs schedule.
Yeah, it's been great, because you think of those rivalries, and obviously we're talking football primarily right now, but you also think about it in us against Findlay and Ashland. Though there's some great rivalries there in terms of, for example, men's and women's basketball. There have been some really good rivalries there, particularly men's basketball with Findlay and the Bulldogs, but also with Ashland and the Bulldogs on the men's side in basketball. And then on the women's side, there have been some good rivalries there as well. So it's really been great to see we've been able to keep and maintain those rivalries, and with some of the scheduling challenges that we see now and could see in the future, games like that where you have rivals that you really value and you get great competition, those are going to be very important in the future.
Coach Anise kind of addressed it at the end of the game the other night in our post-game show. Scheduling is an issue in the GLIAC, and obviously we see on the schedule this year we've got Davenport next week for homecoming, and then the Bulldogs are going to play at Davenport again coming up later on in the year, and the scheduling is only going to get a little bit harder. Obviously, Ferris State with 10 games this year did not fill that 11th game. The Bulldogs heading into next season will lose Northwood out of the GLIAC, so a lot remains to be seen on how the GLIAC addresses some of these scheduling challenges. But for Ferris State, you take the opponent that steps on the field, and one of the challenges that certainly doesn't help the Bulldogs, the more you win, the harder it is to really find teams to play.
It does make it a lot harder to find those teams to play. But the one thing we know about Coach Anise, and we've known this from the beginning, and you and I remember going and playing at North Dakota State, going and playing in the Fargo Dome, that Coach Anise will go and play anywhere. He has no qualms about going and playing anywhere. We played out on the West Coast against Central Washington University. So Coach Anise will go anywhere. And so we definitely welcome opportunities to play great competition. I think that's what the fans want to see. We've seen that at the major Division I level. They really like these early season matchups out of conference where you're playing great teams. And those are the kind of games that people really want to see. And so hopefully we'll be able to get some of those games and to be able to keep us up on that stage, because when you play great competition, it brings the best out of you. And that's what we've seen during Coach Anise's era.
One comment here, great comment coming up regarding the Ferris State offensive line from someone that watched the Ashland broadcast last week, and the ability of our offensive linemen to play multiple positions. We've seen, number one, multiple lines of guys out there. I think the Bulldogs have played 9 or 10 different guys on that offensive line on a regular basis here over the course of the year. But we've seen Dylan Pasquale play right tackle. We've seen him play left tackle. I think Tyler Shreve has played left guard and right guard. So certainly the ability to be versatile up front really helps the Bulldogs in establishing that running game.
Yeah, it really does help establishing that running game. And you got guys that are going to get banged up. We know what it's like being on the offensive line in terms of what we've seen over the years. And so when you have guys that can switch over and play multiple positions, it keeps you in a sync that a lot of teams can't really match, because they don't really have the depth that we have. We saw early in the game against Ashland, Coach Parker pulled almost the entire offensive line, put in a fresh offensive line, and we didn't miss a beat. I mean, we continued to be able to run the ball with dominance. We continued to be able to pass block as well. So there's a lot of experience, as the commenter mentioned. There's a lot of great experience on that offensive line, and I was really impressed, Rob. Guys came back in great shape, ready to go for camp. A lot of guys that we've seen in the past, and you could tell that they really worked hard. How much perhaps they missed being able to play last fall. They utilized the spring. What a crowd we had for the spring game. I mean, let's not forget that. We had a great crowd for the spring game, and a lot of people, again, excited about football, not the least of which were our players who really worked hard to be in great shape coming into camp.
I think one of the really cool things I've seen this fall is obviously guys that have came back, had an opportunity to graduate and move on. We've got, I think, 10 different graduates that are on the field playing for the Bulldogs this year. There's a lot of attention on Marvin Campbell, 7th-year running back, John Higgins, who's in his 7th year in the program, guys like Jake Boonstra in his 6th year on the offensive line. And a lot of those guys were not around last fall, had planned to come back last fall, went back home when the season was canceled and saved their year of eligibility, and now back here 2 years later for some of those guys since they graduated from Ferris State. That's been really cool to see.
It has been. And the unfortunate part is that not all of those guys got a chance to do that. Some had to make other decisions. But you got to really be happy for those guys that really dedicated themselves to coming back because it was the right move for them. And they were able to come back and to finish what they started, because a lot of those guys you mentioned, they were with us in 2018 when we played for the national championship down in Texas against Valdosta State. And they got that little bit of taste in their mouths, and they really want to get it back and have an opportunity to finish what they started. They want to relive that moment of winning the GLIAC championship when they played, before Finley, when we last played at one of the last games we played at Top Taggart, not the last game before that, but one of those games where they remember that great game broadcast on Fox Sports. So, there's a lot that these guys still want to accomplish, and they're going to have that opportunity this year. And I think that's what you ask for, is to have the opportunity.
A couple questions. We'll take the first one. Obviously, a lot of attention each and every year on the Ferris State Grand Valley State rivalry, the Anchorbone Classic. The Lakers with a big win last week over a ranked team in Colorado State Pueblo after they had their season opener canceled, back on the field and played well last week. And certainly a game that a lot of people are going to point towards October 16th. Any tricks for the Bulldogs against the Lakers? I think Coach Anise has pulled out a lot of tricks over the years against Grand Valley State. We saw the throwback pass to J. Rue Campbell a couple years ago. I remember the 2-point conversion that went to Landon Grove. Certainly it's been a great rivalry, and certainly the Bulldogs have had the upper hand as of late, but I'm sure both teams will be well prepared. You got to take it one game at a time, but I know a lot of fans are already pointing towards October 16th.
Oh, there's no doubt. A lot of fans and alumni on both sides, and a lot of people we know throughout West Michigan, probably in Grand Rapids, a lot of offices with Bulldogs and Lakers, maybe in side-by-side cubicles or sitting in side-by-side offices, meeting at the water cooler, talking a little bit about what's going to happen when the Bulldogs and Lakers play. Look, it's always a great game between the two programs, particularly in the last 10 or so years. It's really been a great rivalry, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great crowd, we expect, down in Allendale. So they're going to come out in force. Our fans usually come out in force down to that game. So there'll be a lot of red in the crowd there. And we'll see what Coach Anise comes up with, because he comes up with some gems playing against the Lakers. And you mentioned the one with J. Rue Campbell on his way to being named the Harlan Hill Trophy winner. That was a huge game for him. He had a receiving touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a rushing touchdown, among other things, in a great performance by him as an individual and the Bulldogs as a team. So we would expect another great one between the Bulldogs and Lakers.
Of course, one of the games the Bulldogs have coming up before that Grand Valley game is against Northwood on October 2nd in Midland. That'll be the next road game for the Bulldogs. And question regarding scheduling with a team like Northwood leaving the GLIAC after this season. Are there concerns? I think there are concerns from the GLIAC. Obviously, the GLIAC's trying to do what they can to either recruit new members, try to form some scheduling alliances. So it'll remain to be seen how that's handled maybe heading into the offseason, I think, is when a lot of that scheduling challenge is really going to present itself.
Yeah, I think it's not too early, and yet it is kind of too early to start to think about that. And you look at down the line, and you look at what the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the ACC working on some scheduling agreements so they can ensure themselves enough games and quality competition. And so those are some of the things that I think the GLIAC is going to be looking at as well. And it's going to be a challenge for sure. When you look at how you're going to fill some big shoes, some strong programs that we've had that have left the conference. But again, when you have the commitment of some of the teams that we have in the GLIAC to be successful at that high level, you know they're going to be working feverishly here, really from now until next season to try to make sure we can secure some good competition to keep this thing going and to give our student athletes the great experience that they want playing against the best competition.
Let's talk about Saturday night's game, the first of back-to-back home games here for the Bulldogs. Saginaw Valley State coming to town on Saturday night, 7 o'clock kick, Top Taggart Field, and obviously a long-time opponent here in the GLIAC, one of those teams that's been around the GLIAC for a long time. I think the two teams had played 45 straight years before obviously last fall was canceled. This will be the 46th consecutive meeting when teams have been on the field. So one of those traditional rivals, and a lot of great games between Ferris State and Saginaw Valley State over the years.
Yeah, just some terrific contests, and it really has been a great rivalry when you think of some of the big games that the Bulldogs and Cardinals have played. And, a lot of people, of course, remember the Snow Bowl 1995, just a terrific game right there that lives in Bulldog lore with all the great things that we saw in that game. The great rush by Chris Pulliams at the end, great alumnus Chris Pulliams to seal that victory. But we had so many other good games, just great competition. I still remember going in there and clinching that fifth MIFC championship back in 1996 over at Saginaw Valley. Just some great games, even in more recent years. And the plot thickens a little bit with Ryan Brady over there, Coach Brady, who was with Coach Anise here on our staff. And we know Coach Brady and some of the other support staff that they have really well. So a lot of familiarity between these two programs. And so it just continues to be a great rivalry, one that we expect to just go on and on.
We had a question about challenges coming up here on the Ferris State football schedule this year. It is a one game at a time mentality, but if you have challenges, I think these next 2 weeks are teams that are going to challenge the Bulldogs that are right there in the mix in the GLIAC, hoping to be one of those top 2 or 3 teams in the conference with both Saginaw Valley State and Davenport. Saginaw Valley 1-1, got a win in the season opener against Texas A&M Kingsville, then a tough loss last week against Bowie State of Maryland, a ranked team. They're really trying to put their offense together and hopefully for Saginaw Valley State on their side put up some points here against the Bulldogs on Saturday night.
Yeah, I had a chance to watch Saginaw Valley against Texas A&M Kingsville. Very competitive game. Texas A&M Kingsville making the long trip up to Saginaw to play the Cardinals, and really a competitive game. Came right down to the end. Big goal line stand by Saginaw Valley to be able to seal that game. They were playing Bowie State while we were playing, so did not get a whole lot about that game other than the score. But again, Saginaw Valley is going to be a very competitive team. We know Coach Brady. We're back-to-back weeks here playing against former Bulldogs. So Coach Brady's going to have his guys ready to play. There's no question about that. A lot of pride in that Saginaw Valley program. So they're going to be ready to go. Saginaw Valley is a very balanced team. You're not going to look at them and say, there's any obvious weaknesses, because they're a solid team, a solid program they believe is on the rise. So we're definitely going to be tested this coming weekend.
So they're 2 deep heading into the week, and obviously some familiar names, some guys that have had a lot of success in the GLIAC. Tommy Scott, a talented running back that had a big game against Grand Valley State a few years ago. Chad Galliard, one of their wide receivers that has obviously had some success in the GLIAC. So not an empty cupboard by any means for Coach Brady and Saginaw Valley State. Yeah,
definitely some familiar guys. And we've seen this, with the COVID year last year, some familiar places. Galliard seems like he's been around forever. But everybody has a guy like that or multiple guys like that seems like they've been around forever and ever because of some of the circumstances. And so it just means it's going to be good competition. We have a lot of experienced teams. And when you look top to bottom in the GLIAC with what did not happen last year, there's going to be a lot of experienced teams, and so that should hopefully create some really good football games here coming down the stretch. And so I'm definitely excited about what's going to happen in Saginaw Valley. Again, team, you certainly have to come ready to play against the Cardinals, and I think the Bulldogs will be ready to go.
This will be the final night home game, at least in terms of the home games on the Ferris State schedule this year. Saw Coach Anise out there on Twitter today looking for a big crowd, trying to maybe set an attendance record based on what the Bulldogs were able to do in their home opener, and hoping to get that big student crowd again here on Saturday night for football alumni night.
Yeah, it's going to be, we're looking forward to a great crowd. And the one thing we like is just having all those alumni coming back and hopefully we'll get a chance to get some of them on the air and to be able to talk with them a little bit. But there's certainly a lot of pride with them coming back and wanting to experience and cheer on the current team and the way the alumni before them came back and cheered them on to victory. And so that's one of the things that builds a great tradition. We've talked about that, about the Bulldog football tradition, and it just continues. And a lot of it is because of the support that the past generation showed to the current generation.
Obviously, football alumni night will bring back a number of alums. They'll be honored at the end of the first quarter coming up on Saturday night. The Bulldogs going to honor the honorary captain, Jason Vanderlaan. I was talking with Jake Doherty, who now works for Bulldog Athletics, former center here for the Bulldogs this afternoon. This will be one of the first times, if not the first time, Jason's been back since his playing career for a Ferris State home game. Obviously, went on to play in the NFL. Now, the offensive coordinator at Rockford High School. Going to be nice to have him back. Such a great person, a talented player on the field for the Bulldogs, and obviously very talented in the classroom as well. National Scholar Athlete of the Year and two-time Harlan Hill Trophy winner. Finished his career as the all-time leading rusher among quarterbacks at any level of college football.
Yeah, his resume is just really unparalleled. I mean, what he's been able to accomplish during his career, and you think of that group that he came in with, and the guys that came in and really worked hard and were part of turning this program around, and guys that not only helped to turn this program around, but some of those guys went on to have success at the National Football League level as well. And so it really speaks a lot to the character of that group. And Jason, of course, is going to be one of the guys we're going to see as the focal point of that, with winning 2 Harlan Hill trophies and the great success that he had, one of the great rushing quarterbacks of all time at any level, with what numbers he put up during his career. And so it's going to be great to have him back. And he's going to do great things coaching. He's beginning certainly at the high school level, and the sky is the limit for what he can do. We thought that when we started to get a feel for what he was going to be like as a player, and you think that even more so, Rob, with what he could do in terms of coaching. He can do really anything he sets his mind to.
Really hard to believe it's been 6 years since he was a senior here for the Bulldogs, and that class really established the Bulldogs as a national power under head coach Tony Annese, and certainly nice to see him come back this weekend. The Bulldogs have had some of those other guys back in the past, and guys that really helped us establish what is going on right now in terms of Ferris State being one of the top teams in the country.
Yeah, just some great players that we know, and guys that are good friends too. We've had Jake Lampman back, and he has certainly done some things in terms of his NFL dream and fighting and competing for a place in the NFL. Justin Zimmer was in that group as well. And so just a lot of guys in that group that, again, really set the tone for where we are now. And that's why, we don't take it for granted, because it wasn't always like this. But you have quality people of high character, student athletes that work hard, that come from great families. We still see some of the families of those guys that are still very much supportive of, involved with Bulldog football. And so, and then these are guys that played, years and years ago, and their families are still supportive of the team, as are these former Bulldog players. And so that really speaks to the tradition that Bulldog football has been able to build, the sense of family that keeps these players and their families connected years after they're done playing.
Comment from one fan that loves the military presence and support at the games. Obviously, the National Guard, the sponsor of the first game against Findlay, they've been tremendous supporters here of Ferris State Athletics. So certainly thank them. They'll be involved in the coin toss again coming up on Saturday night, along with Jason Vanderlaan, the honorary captain. Great question here, Sandy, from a fan that wants to know who's the real field goal kicker for Ferris State. And obviously something the Bulldogs have prided themselves on in the Tony Annese era is special teams. Saw Jermaine Romer last week go 6 for 6 in PAT tries. There was one point in the game where Ferris State lined up for a 34-yard field goal, and it was Cy Barnett, of course, who seems like he does everything for this football team. But I think a lot of that was due to the fact where the spot was and what hash it was on, because he's a left-footed kicker for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, when we saw it come out and it was set up on that right hash, and you saw Cy Barnett come up, I'm thinking left-footed kicker, and he drilled it too. I mean, Cy Barnett is just one of those versatile guys that can do so many things. And we think of some of those players that the Bulldogs have had over the years that were able to punt, that are able to kick off or kick field goals or play special teams, play almost anywhere. Just some names that you start to think about, Jason Vanderlaan, Trevor Birmingham, just a lot of guys that have really been able to do multiple things and they have been able to earn the trust of the coaches to be allowed to do those kinds of things, to contribute in multiple different ways. And a lot of these guys just want to contribute wherever they can. And so that really speaks again to the atmosphere that we've been able to build in Bulldog football, where even if you're not playing your traditional position, you want to find ways to be able to contribute and help the team be successful.
Obviously, this week, the Bulldogs take it on Saginaw Valley, but next week, we certainly want to take some time here and talk about homecoming. Always a great tradition here at Ferris State University. The Bulldogs hosting Davenport. It'll be a 3:00 kickoff next Saturday. A ton of homecoming events coming up here over the next week. You got the traditional parade and so much more, Sandy, and always nice to see so many people come back for the homecoming game.
Yeah, it's just always a great thing because we have so many people, as you mentioned, that come back that are just really supportive of the school, and we know our alumni are excited. They have been booking hotels probably since back in the summer because they all want to be a part of this and they want to be up close and personal, taking in as many of the homecoming games as possible. Now that we're able to have some of these events, particularly these outdoor events. So there's just going to be a lot of excitement here. And some of the things that you really think about with homecoming in terms of the traditional events, you obviously think about the parade through downtown Big Rapids coming onto campus. That's always a hit for a lot of people, our alumni, as well as our community members here in Big Rapids and in the surrounding communities. That's going to be big. And then obviously the tailgate's going to be huge. Always a great opportunity to be able to gather together with friends and people that were your classmates, your roommate, your suite mate. We got a great homecoming comedian, Whitney Cummings, who's coming in and should be a great performance there. Tons of reunions. We got 100-year reunions, 50-year reunions. The homecoming alumni tent that's going to be out there in the parking lot at Top Taggart. So just so many things going on. Going to be a ton of things going on. And so I tell you what, if you're an alum, find a way to get here. If you gotta live with your buddy that's still living in town, if you got to commute up from Grand Rapids, you got to commute down from Cadillac, commute west from Mount Pleasant or wherever you got to go, just find a way to get here because it's going to be epic. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fans are just excited to return to campus.
We encourage fans to visit ferris.edu for all the homecoming information coming up over the course of the next week. We'll have a lot of it online as well, especially regarding the football game at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. Back-to-back home games here, one game leading into homecoming week, and then obviously the homecoming game doesn't happen a whole lot of times here in late September for the Bulldogs.
No, it doesn't. It's just kind of an odd little quirk of the schedule, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, with so many things going on, it's just really exciting. And we know our fans are excited. And we talked a little bit earlier about the spring game and how excited everybody was for the spring game. But it's just a lot of excitement for everything. And I forgot to mention the grand marshals of the parade this year will be Dave and Patsy Eisler, President Eisler and Patsy. President Eisler has announced his retirement in June of 2022. So certainly looking forward to celebrating President and Patsy Eisler for the great contributions that they've made to the university over their time here in Big Rapids. And so just a lot of great things going on here for this homecoming.
Speaking of President Eisler retiring, we certainly want to thank him for all of his efforts in regards to Bulldog athletics. Got to thank Jerry Scobie, Jim Bachmeyer, and obviously Perk Weisenberger, who's retiring as the athletic director here. Just a few weeks left. A lot of people that have played a big role in the success that we're currently enjoying here in terms of Ferris State football.
Well, we definitely want to thank Perk Weisenberger for his tremendous contributions to Ferris athletics and the mentality and the mindset that he's been able to help instill and the good people that he's been able to help us bring aboard to really help build and strengthen a tradition of success in Bulldog athletics. You mentioned Jerry Scobie, who retired a while back. And he certainly had a role in a lot of that as well. And so they're just some great people, and we certainly are very thankful for what Perk contributed. And it's hard to believe we're coming into the final weeks of his time at Ferris, but his legacy, I think, is going to live on beyond his retirement.
Looking forward to obviously working with the new athletic director, Steve Brockelbank, who was announced just last week. And obviously he'll take over this Bulldog program at the same time we're getting ready to head to Allendale to take on Grand Valley State. So I know Perk will be there as well, but going to be an interesting transition here coming up on Anchorbone Week with a change in athletic directors.
Yeah, and Steve Brockelbank Ben coming in here, and Rob and I have had a chance to work with him a little bit, and he's a great guy. Really impressed with him, and he certainly impressed the search committee and Vice President Jim Bachmeyer and others as he was named the athletic director. So it's going to be very exciting for him, and he certainly has got some Grand Valley roots. So it's going to be an interesting debut week for him to put on those Ferris colors. I know Rob and the athletic administration and the equipment staff going to make sure he's got plenty of Ferris apparel to get ready for that Grand Valley game. And so it's going to be exciting to have Steve come aboard and being a Bulldog.
He certainly is going to be a Bulldog after being a former Grand Valley State assistant coach. So going to be nice to have him on the Ferris State side. Speaking of that Anchorbone Classic, question regarding National Game of the Week type implications with television. I don't believe the NCAA has continued the National Game of the Week package this year with everything that went on over the course of the past year, but obviously it's going to be a big game on the national stage. I know Grand Valley State will have a live webcast out there, and they do a nice job with their TV coverage. So it'll be a game that draws a significant amount of media attention here over the course of the week or two leading up to it.
Yeah, it's one of those games that, you know, it might not technically be labeled the national game of the week, but we know. I mean, we really know an opportunity. Again, you don't want to look too far ahead, but an opportunity for both teams potentially to come in undefeated. So, but a lot of football between now and then to determine that. But it has, pretty much every year in recent memory, it's had some national implications. So I would expect this to be much the same. We had that great game with them to cap the regular season in 2019, televised game, just a lot of excitement, hoopla around that. And so it's always big. It's always something. So it's going to be definitely exciting. Make sure you get your tickets if you're a Bulldog fan. Get those tickets as early as you can, and make sure you're there wearing your Ferris red and cheering on the Bulldogs down there at Lover Stadium.
Another question that revolves around both Ferris State, Grand Valley State, the national powerhouses, and how some of those other teams in Division II football are doing. I think that's one of my favorite things is getting up on a Sunday morning, checking the D2 scoreboard if I haven't already, and seeing how some of those other games turn out. Obviously, Valdosta State that we fell to in the 2018 national championship game, having a strong season under the former Tiffin head coach and Gary Goff. And then you've got the team that beat us in 2019, West Florida, off to a strong start, beat McKinney State, an FCS school, just last week. So two teams that are going to be right in the mix, along with the Bulldogs. Grand Valley State could be there as well as you eye maybe the postseason coming up here in the latter part of November.
Yeah, I think coming into this season, I think people were looking at Ferris, and you look at the University of West Florida. And, West Florida, we had a chance to see them, a tough loss for us in the playoffs at that game at Top Taggart Field. And yet they've been able to remain strong and to continue to build their program. And, we're working to build our program as well. So those are, I think, the two programs that people were really looking at this year in terms of being really good. And then you got Valdosta. So that region down there in the South, I mean, that's a tough region down there, but so is ours. We're a tough region as well. And so, who knows what it'll come down to, but there's a lot of great football really in pretty much all of the regions. But I think when you think of those two regions of the country, that's where, ours with us and Grand Valley and some of the other schools in our region that we have to look at. And then you look down in the South. I mean, there's just some great football being played really around the country.
As you look at Division II football, this is one of those years where it could get interesting based on the number of games teams are able to play. Fortunately, at least for all these teams that are, in the top half of the rankings, for the most part, they've been able to play each and every week here through the first 2 weeks of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how many games are canceled here before it's all said and done. But I know the Bulldogs thus far doing the right things that they have to do to make sure they have a team that's ready to step on the field.
Well, I think that's the big key is to make sure that we do as much as we can, being the student athletes and the people around them, the family, friends that are supportive of them and want to make sure that we can get in as many games as we can. And you're right. So far, relatively few games have been canceled. And so knock on wood, that continues because, obviously we want the great experience for the student athletes and they want to be able to play as many games as possible. Many of our student athletes missed too many games from last year. And there were a few teams, a relative handful of teams that had an opportunity, but not as many as would have liked that would have played if we'd had a fall 2020 season. So I think hopefully everybody will continue to do the things that we need to do, and we can get these games in, and we can have a full season the way we want to get another step towards that normalcy that we love.
Question regarding Sandy and myself, and do we enjoy each other's company, as much off the air as we do on the air? And I think that's one of the things that obviously, I love about Bulldog football. And thank you, Sandy. Going on the road this past weekend was a lot of fun. We don't just get to spend the time together on the air, but in the 5 hours plus on the way down, 5 hours on the way back. And, I don't think it'd be a whole lot of fun not doing it with someone that I really enjoyed being around.
Yeah, I likewise, and it's true because we don't have the technology yet to beam in like they do on Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever. We had to drive, as Rob mentioned, 5.5 hours down to Ashland, Ohio. So 5.5 hours in the car. There were actually 4 of us in the car, and it's a lot easier when you get along with people. And Rob and I have great respect for each other. People may not realize this very much, but we work together not just around the sports teams in terms of broadcasting, but we frequently work together outside of it, with other things that are behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even know about. Most recently, we worked together. We collaborated on the announcement of Steve Brocklebank as the athletic director. So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that maybe a lot of people don't see. But it's great, and we've had a chance to work together for so long now. We had that conversation when we were down in Arkansas with the Ouachita Baptist announcers, and they were talking about the amount of time that they worked together. I think we got 15 or 16 years, whatever it is, in terms of announcing, and they're like 30. Well, I don't know, what was it, 38 years, something like that. The guy said
37, somewhere around there.
I'm like 37. I don't know. That's just like mind blowing to even think about that long. But yeah, we work very well together, and when you have relatively small teams, it really helps to be successful when you have people that work well together, that are supportive of each other, that are unselfish, that just want success for the team overall. And that's really the focus that I think we have, and that really makes this whole thing tick.
I think that's something that we don't talk about enough. Carries over to the coaching staff as well. Coach Neese, class act to be around, a guy that appreciates what we do. We enjoy being around him. And obviously, the 2 coaches coming in here over the next 2 weeks, Ryan Brady, then Sparky McEwen, guys that have worked here at Ferris State and been great guys to work with as well.
Yeah, we have great respect for Coach Ryan Brady and Coach Sparky McEwen. Coach Ryan Brady, a former Bulldog football coach, assistant coach, and Coach Sparky McEwen, of course, a former Bulldog student athlete, quarterback. And so he knows his program as a student athlete as well as an assistant coach for years with Coach Anese's staff. And so there's just great respect every time we see Coach. I saw Coach Anese for the football showcase camp that was here, and had a chance to run into him and say hi to him. And so it's always great. A lot of love there, a lot of competition. It's competitive, but certainly a lot of respect and love.
You mentioned the football showcase camp. It leads into this next question regarding exposure for the Bulldogs, recruiting. A lot of the things we do that kind of ties into it, in some form or another with social media, broadcasts, obviously the website. It takes everything, I think, in this day and age to really reach those student athletes and reach those prospective recruits. And that camp was another great showpiece for Ferris State to really showcase the university.
Yeah, it really put Ferris on the stage. And you think of coming back from COVID and having a chance to be in person. And it really was a great thing. So many people. We had tons of media there as well as many of the great coaches. It was a who's who of the top coaches from not just around the state, but around the Midwest and even beyond. So it was really great to see a great showcase for Ferris. And you think of social media, and that's another area where Rob and I work together. I work together with Rob and Harrison to really help spread the word in social media. And we're all very supportive of each other in social media where we can be, to help amplify some important messages that we want to get out to our fans. And that fan base can include at times prospective student athletes and their parents. And so we're definitely happy to continue to spread the word about the great things that Ferris has to offer.
Obviously, the Bulldogs have won the last 2 GLIAC championships that were played on the field, 2018, 2019. Bulldogs here in week 1 broke the school record, 29 consecutive regular season wins going back to 2017. Last week, 30 straight regular season wins. The last road loss for the Bulldogs, or the last loss in the regular season, was back in 2017 at Ashland. Bulldogs hope that continues on throughout the course of the season, but just a tremendous amount of success that this program's been able to establish here in recent years.
Yeah, it has. And, it's funny when you go through seasons, and sometimes you remember the losses more than the wins. And I remember that loss to Ashland. That was a tough loss for us going in that game there. And I think some of the guys who were there for that, it really was a motivating factor for them moving forward. And they really wanted to reestablish some things and get this program back on track. Not that it was off track, because Ashland is a good program. We know that. But the Bulldogs have certainly been playing some great football since then. Even if some of the names and faces have changed, the commitment to success and excellence and the work that it takes in game, in practice, in the weight room, in the classroom, they have really committed themselves to doing that, to being successful at the highest levels.
Really unbelievable. I was working on some game notes this week, and the success the Bulldogs have had, throughout the tenure of Coach Anise, but certainly here in the recent years. I think 29-2 since the start of the 2018 season. Last 71 games in the regular season, the Bulldogs are 68-3. The list goes on and on of accomplishments under Coach Anise. Reminds a lot of fans of the great eras from the 1990s when the Bulldogs had so much success. Obviously, the 1968 team, a team that still lives on in Ferris State history. Just been some outstanding teams, and nice to see us really back on that same stage.
It is, and I feel like I was a little bit spoiled because I came in here in the early 90s. I think my freshman year, I think we were the defending MIFC champions. And we really went on a nice run, 5 straight championships. And it was just really a great time for Bulldog football. Some legends that really came through and had some tremendous performances, guys that are in our Bulldog Athletics Hall of Fame, guys that are probably in other Hall of Fames, whether it's their hometowns or elsewhere. And so there's just a lot of great players that came through in that era. And I feel like as a student, I was kind of spoiled. And my first year covering Bulldog football was 1996 when I was a student writing for the Torch. And that was a great year. We won the MIFC, and it was just a great game. And we had a little bit of a run in the playoffs. And so I never take it for granted. It hasn't, every season hasn't been great, but we've certainly been on a great run. And I never take it for granted. We've called some tough seasons and we've called some great seasons. And so, you take the good with the bad, but you certainly prefer the good.
No secret that obviously the Bulldogs, one of their goals every year is to win the GLIAC championship, get into the postseason, and then try to make a run and get as far as they can. Obviously, the one thing that has eluded Ferris State thus far is that national championship, a couple points away back in 2018, and hoping to make another big push this year towards McKinney. The team thus far, in terms of the health, as one question came in, I think as healthy as you can be here through a couple weeks of the season. Obviously some bumps and bruises, but one thing I think that really sticks out about this team is you have some veterans, some experience, some guys on that second or third line that really will help offset any major injuries here, hopefully as we go over the course of the season.
Yeah, we're blessed to have great depth, and that's something that has been developed over the years with Coach Anise and the staff, and they've really worked hard to recruit guys and to bring them up through the system the right way. You're always going to have some transfers that come in here and there, but generally speaking, we've been able to develop guys over 4 or 5, 6 years, and well, now 7 years at times. But we've been able to develop some of those guys, and that's really helped us to have that great depth. So, when you think of starting the season with 2, physical, hard-hitting teams like Findlay and Ashland, you're going to have some of the bumps and bruises. But for the most part, I think, we've come through relatively unscathed, and but things are going to happen over the course of the season, and you look down the line and you think of the depth that we have, and you feel really good about being able to absorb those. We saw that 2019, we had a lot of guys step up. We had some tremendous injuries that really hurt us, in that particular season. And yet we had guys that really stepped in and really carried us, into the playoffs. And so that really speaks to the kind of program we've been able to develop.
Got 7 or 8 minutes left here. So any other questions, feel free to shoot them our way, and we'll try to address those on air. But certainly want to talk about those 2 home games coming up again this Saturday against Saginaw Valley, 7:00 kick, and then next Saturday for homecoming against Davenport at 3:00. 2 home games, back-to-back home games here for the Bulldogs, but then they hit a stretch where they won't be at home until October 30th. So really a great opportunity here the next 2 weeks before this team goes on the road for a month or so to watch the Bulldogs in action.
Yeah, if you have any thought in your head about coming and supporting the Bulldogs at Top Taggart, these next 2 weeks are the weeks to do it. We mentioned Football Alumni Day coming up this weekend, and then you look at homecoming. What more do we need to say about that? The great traditions, great food, great camaraderie, a lot of reunions taking place as well. It's going to be a great chance for you guys to be, you guys as fans, to be able to come back and really meet some of your old, as I mentioned, some of your old friends, your old roommates, your teammates, your enemies, or whatever, just to come back and really enjoy that spirit around Ferris and around Bulldog football. So I'm really excited about it. Like I said, homecoming is always a fantastic experience for me. It's always been some of our most memorable games have been on homecoming, and so definitely looking forward to that experience.
A reminder to fans, you can visit ferrisstatebulldogs.com/tickets, buy your tickets in advance, and avoid the lines. We're expecting a big crowd on Saturday night. Obviously, had a big crowd for the Findlay game in week 1, and hoping to build off of that with the way this team is playing number 2 in the country, and right now has been a dominant football team through a couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's really been enjoyable. You mentioned it, just dominant, and you coming into the season and everybody's 0-0, and you think, we look pretty good. We look really good on paper. We know what we have coming back, and you feel really good about it. But at the same time, you got to go out and do it. And sometimes people are just like, we're good, but I don't know. We have to wait and see it. And so far, what we've seen has been good. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about where this team can go. But again, there's still a lot of football left to be played.
One question that just came in, one of our final questions. If you had to pick a favorite memory of Ferris State football, what would that be? For me, I've got a couple that really stick out. Obviously, 2018, getting that big win at Minnesota State in the national semifinals, and really going on that trip to McKinney, Texas, which was a ton of fun, even though the final outcome was a couple points short. That team was such an outstanding team, finishing 15-1 overall. So that's a great memory for me. But I think the other one that really sticks out is 2009, we had a chance to call games, and, it was fun being on the air with you, Sandy. Obviously, the results that season weren't so much fun. Team that finished 1-10 overall. But then just a few seasons later, 2014, a chance to go 11-0 in the regular season. We were on the road at Walsh, calling the game from the Pro Football Hall of Fame Stadium. Somehow Walsh threw every trick in the playbook and was right there with us. Had the lead in the fourth quarter, but a great game-winning drive, final 2 minutes by Jason Vanderlaan, who will be our honorary captain coming up again on Saturday night. Led the Bulldogs down the field, got a 46-42 win to finish 11-0 and win the GLIAC championship for the first time since 1999. I remember going from one computer, tweeted the score out right as we went to our first commercial break, and by the time I went to retweet it on the other computer, it had, I think, 500 retweets. So really spoke to the power of social media, but just a tremendous performance in a 2-minute drive for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that was a great performance. That was we were doing a lot of sweating up there in that gigantic press box there at the Hall of Fame Stadium. You took one of mine. The Minnesota State win was just terrific, and probably the coldest I think we've ever been. And we were trudging through snow to get up to the press box, and trudging through snow everywhere. Bone-chilling temperatures, even inside the press box, with hand warmers, leg warmers, multiple layers, space heaters, and yet we emerged victorious with a great game, a terrific performance. I think that was definitely one of the ones for me. And I think even though we lost, I think the atmosphere being down there in McKinney, Texas, I think it was awesome. It was just an awesome experience just to be down there. And it was a tough loss, but it was a great game. I mean, it was a terrific game there. The playoff win at Fort Hays, I think, was a great one for me. That was a terrific win. Beautiful weather there. Territory that Rob is familiar with from back in his college days. So that was a great win as well.
I certainly can't forget about the other big win that's happened 8 times, I think, since 2012, beating Grand Valley, which obviously that first one in 2012, winning at Lubber Stadium for the first time since the 1990s was a huge win for Coach Denise, and really got this program established to the success that they're currently having.
Yeah, I think our fans know that. Any win over Grand Valley is always a great win. So we'll leave it at that. That was a great win. They all are.
Certainly got to take it one game at a time. That game coming up in mid-October, but some big games on the schedule starting this week against Saginaw Valley. Then obviously next week against Davenport. 2 big games here at home. Looking forward to seeing the fans out in full force and really supporting this team.
Absolutely. Very excited for it. And fans, make sure you get your tickets and get here. Find a way to get here to support the Bulldogs over these next couple of weeks.
Sandy, a lot of fun. Great to be back on the air with you and looking forward to the broadcast on Saturday night. We'll have pregame coverage at 6:30 on Sunny 97.3 and also online live audio and video stream at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. Should be a lot of fun as the Bulldogs host the Cardinals.
Cannot wait. It's going to be exciting and looking forward to rocking the top again and enjoy these night games with good weather. Let's knock on wood for good weather, and hopefully we have a great turnout of fans.
Top of the hour, 8 o'clock. Like to thank all the fans that tuned in to listen to us talk Bulldog football, something that we love to do. Thanks to all the fans that tuned in here tonight. And we'll send it back to Brandy with the alumni office to wrap it up.
Thanks, Rob and Sandy. I'm looking forward to this weekend's contest. And of course, the big game on Thursday or on homecoming next Saturday. Fingers crossed that we're busy planning an alumni celebration in McKinney, Texas, December. And I hope everybody is there. Thanks again, guys. We appreciate you tonight. As a reminder, if you missed any part of the presentation or would like to go back and review a section, this video will be found beginning tomorrow on this website under past events or on our Facebook page at Ferris Alumni. We hope you will join us next month for our October Alumni Social Hour, Howling for Halloween, Pumpkin Carving with Brutus. You can catch Brutus with some special helpers on Thursday, October 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just spend an hour with Brutus as he leads you through 3 different fun FSU-inspired pumpkin carvings that will be sure to impress all of your friends and bring some Bulldog cheer to your holidays. For more information or to register, simply head to the Alumni Association website at ferris.edu/alumni. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening, and we hope to see you all at homecoming next week.